Hello, hello, good evening. It's Marguerite speaking, and we are here for our live session this evening, The Resilience, the Art of Thriving. So I'm very excited to be offering you all this session on this particular topic. It is very close to my heart. I consider it a really, really important aspect of health, building our resilience, building our ability to kind of cope with the stuff that life tends to chuck at us. So it's a really important topic. I think, we all get our share of stuff to deal with, and the effects it has on our health, are not to be sniffed at, quite frankly. So this is why I decided to today do a bit of a session on this topic. So if you're here, come and say hello. I can see Anne is here. Hi, Anne. And Victoria. Hello, Victoria. Sue. Hi, Sue. Debbie. Hello. Tracy. Hello. So pop in. Yes, Anne, you can watch on catch up. You can always watch on catch up. Just pop, you can still leave comments on catch up, and so just pop in hashtag replay so I know that you are on catch up. So Carol has joined. Hello. So whilst we are just waiting for Facebook to send out the little notification to say that we are live, which always takes a minute or two. Just want to give you all a quick heads up about something lovely that I am planning, which is that one of the things that you all know I'm very passionate about is doing the simple things very well. And when it comes to creating awesome health, one really, really simple thing that we can start doing for ourselves is to make sure that we are super hydrated. Now, I know that some of you have actively worked with me on this as a piece of work, but I'm going to be offering a 5-day super hydration challenge in 2 weeks' time. And so you are extremely welcome. I'm just going to pop the link for that in. So that's the link just there for you to sign up to the hydration challenge, to have your name on the email list ready to go in 2 weeks' time. Super hydration is fantastically important when it comes to fatigue recovery, when it comes to optimizing energy. It affects nearly every system in our body: your gut health, your hormone health, your liver health, your everything. It is so important. So that's a lovely 5-day live free challenge, and but you do need to get your name onto the email list to be able to take part. So that is the link right there, so you can be the first ones in there. Just pop over there, type, pop your name onto the email list. It is one of those double opt-in thingies that we all have to do now, where no one is allowed to keep anybody's name on an email list without, your permission. And then it says, are you really sure? Here's another email just to make sure you're really sure. So it's one of those double opt-in things. So just bear with it. But if you sign up for it, then you should get one of those little double opt-in things. Are you sure? Confirm so look out for that second email in your inbox. Say, yes, please, I'm definitely sure, I'm in. And then you'll be all set to go. We kick off on Monday, the 25th of February. So that's in just over 2 weeks from now. But come and get your name in there so that you can be sure to be part of it. So Trish has just joined. Hello, Rob. Hi, Rob. Jackie, hello. So gorgeous that you can all be here live. It is so nice to have you here live on the call rather than on the replay, simply because it just creates a lovely energy. And it is also your opportunity to ask things as we go along. So that is the Super Hydration Challenge, which is happening in just a couple of weeks from now. The other thing I just wanted to say is that you are always very welcome to invite people to join this group. I am officially the administrator of this group, so I have the power to to change things, but the way I've set it up at the moment is that if you know of someone who you think actually they could really do with hearing some of these live topics, or they would really enjoy being in a group like this, please invite them. You have the ability to invite them, you have the ability to join them in yourself, so that we can keep growing our lovely community. So there we are. So let's get going. So tonight's topic is resilience, the art of thriving. So as we've already said, that none of us, life happens, and none of us are really immune to the good stuff, but also sometimes the not so nice stuff. Life can be tough. There can be things that happen that you can kind of see coming that are tough, or times when you've got to sort of knuckle down. But sometimes there's stuff that we don't see coming, you know, that happens just out of the blue, you know, those crazy curveballs that life can throw at us. But, you know, all this stuff happens, and, you know, it's really, really important that we kind of give ourselves a chance to kind of have the kind of resilience where we can kind of weather the storm, where we can kind of stay in there and perhaps, you know, learn not to give up. So, you know, the kind of things that can happen is, you know, maybe you've been working really hard on a project. It could be a health project, it could be a work project, it could be a project in your community, and then just, you know, it's just not working out. No one's listening to you, or it's just not going the way you thought, and yet you put so much of your energy into it, you know, those kinds of setbacks. So Di's just joined. Hi Di, and hi Emma, gorgeous to see you. Or it could be a relationship that you thought was going to last forever, and then suddenly, you know, you thought, oh, it's not what I thought, or suddenly it isn't there anymore, or, you know, the promotion that you worked so hard for being given to someone else, you know, you just got overlooked. Or it could be, you know, a family life that you spent years nurturing, and then suddenly, you know, the kids get up and leave, and it's like, well, what was all that about? You know, all this stuff, this stuff takes resilience, you know, to be able to kind of get through those changes. So it's those sorts of things. You know, just to share an example from my own life, and this really was a curveball. I have to say, I do feel that I have had, I'm just going to declare this, I feel I've had more than my fair share of curveballs in my life. Carol saying, I think the universe is testing me. Yes, absolutely. I know that feeling. So, but yeah, you know, one really huge curveball that I had, actually, and I'll just share this with you all, is that, so I am the mum of a really great teenage girl called Gabriella, and she is now 15. And but Gabriella's dad and I, we split up when she was really tiny, like she was just 1 year old. And so, you know, I did the whole kind of single mum thing for years and years and years. And, you know, I have to honestly say it was really tough. You know, I was sole breadwinner, I worked, I was sole housekeeper, I was mum and dad most of the time. It was really, really tough. But, you know, all that kind of thing, you can kind of like get yourself through it. But the thing that absolutely through me is that just after her 11th birthday, she basically decided that she wanted to go and live with her dad, and went. And it was the biggest curveball ever. You know, my whole life up to that point was about being a mom. It was about running a household, running a family life, being the breadwinner for that situation, that setup, and it all literally just poof, you know, biggest curveball ever. And literally, you know, it rocked my world. And I look back now and I think, gosh, you know, I can see now, looking back, why it knocked me as much as it did. And I'm hoping to share with you tonight some of the kind of the strategies that we can help to give ourselves a bit more resilience in life, a bit more kind of a bouncy cushion, so that we don't get knocked around so much. Because I know that back then, you know, I'd been so focused on what I thought was like being a good mom and so on, that actually the whole thing just kind of exploded in my face. And it was like the biggest curveball ever. And it, you know, it literally did take me quite a few years to kind of pull myself back out of that one. Has anybody kind of had curveballs like that, you know, real biggies that you just didn't see coming, and that just like literally, you know, made everything go tumbling? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? So, yeah. So, you know, this stuff happens. We are not immune. No matter how well intentioned we are, no matter how hard we work, no matter how nice we are, no matter how, you know, how much we kind of commit to something, this stuff is going to happen. So Jackie Royal saying yes, Victoria saying yes, absolutely, yeah, you know. So, you know, so this is the nature of it, you know, and the real thing is how do we ride that out? You know, do we, you know, is it about grinning and bearing it, or is there perhaps a better way to, you know, to kind of come through this? And also, just wanted to say that, you know, what starts to happen is when we, you know, when we're not when we haven't got much resilience, Carol's saying yes, when we don't have, kind of good resilience, that, because we can actually create that stuff for ourselves, yeah. But Carol's saying, I had a meltdown. Yeah, I've had a few of those. So, but one of the things that starts to happen is that when life gets tough and when we start to be really challenged, one of the things that can happen when we don't have, really good bouncy resilience in our lives is that we start to kind of withdraw from things. We start to kind of pull back and sort of, we stop giving so much. We stop taking part so much. We withdraw. We start playing smaller. We become a bit more defensive. We start to shrink our lives down. Is this sounding familiar to anybody? This is the kind of stuff, when stuff happens, that you can kind of see coming, that's building up. Perhaps a job that's really kind of becoming overwhelming, or a family. Maybe you're caring for somebody, being someone's carer. That all that stuff, that goes on a long time, and it really is really challenging, this stuff in life. But we start to sort of play safe. We stop giving so much. We stop showing up with our natural bounce and our natural happiness. We lose our playfulness. We start to get very serious and very kind of, like this. And, sometimes we even start to buckle under the pressure of it. Carol's just saying she's had a meltdown. I know I have had a few of those, or we even get sick, so kind of the pressures of life, the curveballs, the stuff that just doesn't go our ways, it can really, pull us down. But the good thing is that we have the ability to build that resilience that will allow us to start weathering those storms a lot better, Is that kind of making sense? Has anybody here ever thought of resilience as a thing that you think, right, okay, I'm going to really focus on that? Is that a thing in your life that you've kind of come across? Yeah. So for me personally, I kind of knew about things like coping strategies and about stress management and that kind of thing. I think those are things that have often crossed our bows. But the idea of actually building resilience is something that I only came across, once I'd sort of, started my journey of kind of reinventing my life after suddenly no longer being mummy day to day, suddenly not, it had gone from being a family life to just me. And it was really, really weird and painful. And, it took a lot just to even stay in there actually at that time, because, you're effectively going through the emotional journey of losing your child, and nothing, anyone out here who's a mum, you'll know exactly what I mean. Anything happens to your children of any kind at all is awful, but to actually lose them is just, completely a horrific experience. And I have to say, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But suffice it to say, the idea of starting to actively build resilience, actively look at what does it take to allow me to weather the storms of life better? What can I do to help myself? This kind of idea of building resilience, it was, a few years ago, was really new to me. But the more I read about this and the more the more I started looking at this and reading around this, I thought, God, okay, this is really important. This is a really big issue when it comes to kind of living a life that allows you to flourish, that allows you energy, vitality, and joy. Really, really important. So Carol is saying to be more confident. And Virginia Henry's joining us. Hi, Virginia. Really nice you could join us. So let's have a look at, what kinds of things would give us resilience. I don't think it's, stress management. Yeah, we know. Coping tactics. Yeah, we know. Trying to think positively. Yeah, we're familiar with all that kind of stuff. But what about actual resilience? How can you kind of learn to kind of build that stuff in? And I tend to think about that kind of now, like it's like, if you were going to build a new house or something, what's the quality of the foundations that you build on, and what's the quality of the insulation from the elements? That could be like your resistance, if you like, your resilience, if you like. There's that, your ability to kind of be buffeted by life and still stand strong. Strong foundations, good kind of insulation from the elements that's appropriate. So let's have a look at what gives us the kinds of things that can give us resilience. So the first thing is really cultivating compassion for self. When researchers, resilience researchers, there are actually people who are resilience researchers, would you believe? But when people do studies around this kind of work, they look, what are the characteristics of people who have good resilience, the people who survive, the people who get through against all the odds and still remain standing. What characterizes these people? One of the things that they share, the people with good resilience share, is a compassion for self, also a compassion for others, but first and foremost, a compassion for self. Okay, now you could say, yeah, I've got that one nailed. I'm nice to myself. I don't give myself a hard time. But is that really true? Okay, because compassion for self, it's a bit like having compassion. It's about self-love. It's about self-care. It's about self-nurture, and how good are we, honestly and truly, at any of that stuff? Really, honestly. Carol is saying, I want to work from the inside out. Absolutely. So you're in the right place, honey. This is exactly what we're going to be talking about. Because, your compassion for self is about being prepared to take really good care of yourself. We're very, very good at giving our care and our attention and our energy to other people. And we think, that is great. But what about giving some of it to yourself? Yeah. Because if you don't give that stuff to yourself, you start running on empty. Only you can give this stuff to yourself. It is almost impossible to receive that stuff from someone else and feel like it really registers right in your core. Only you can give that stuff to yourself. It's about really liking yourself, warts and all. It's about valuing yourself, and knowing your worth, your self-worth. Earlier this week, I did a post on self-worth, and I don't know if any of you read it. Victoria's saying not good. Yeah. And Carol's saying love yourself and take. And I think there's more to come there. Fine. Yeah. So it's about that compassion for self, that real kind of central core of, do you know what? I like myself. I value myself. I don't judge myself. I really honor what is true for me. I really stand in my center and I believe in myself, and I am easily able to give to myself. Okay. Now, as I shared my story from earlier on about what happened to me, when my daughter turned 11, I can honestly say back then, looking back, I was not good at being compassionate to myself. I was very good at giving to others, giving to my daughter, my family life, to friends, to my patients. I was ace at all of that. And I was rubbish at giving to myself. It just didn't even feature on my landscape that I actively needed to learn to give to myself, to really like myself, to honor myself, to kind of listen to myself when I was tired and needed a rest, to listen to myself when life just got too tough and I just needed to kind of go and hide for a while. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just used to tough it out and give and give and give. And this, so compassion for self, real, honest, true compassion for self. So I'd really love to know, kind of having sort of just painted a bit of a picture there and, shared with you my own kind of terribleness at being compassionate to myself way back then. I'm much better at it now, I'm pleased to say. But back then, I really wasn't so great at it. When you think about your practices around compassion for yourself, what are the greatest challenges that come up? Is it about not having enough time to be compassionate for yourself? Is it about, kind of feeling like deep down, like it's a lack of sense of self-worth? Or what are your challenges? If you want to type into the comments box, that'd be really great. What are your challenges? When you think about, starting to practice more self-compassion, this idea of giving to yourself more, nurturing to yourself more, and just being kinder to yourself and giving your needs as much importance as, what you give to yourself, as much importance as what you give to other people, what challenges would come up for you? So Carol's saying, join the club is only now that I have hobbies. Yeah, so this is a really great example, Carol. Absolutely. The idea that, you can take part in activities that give you pleasure just because, they're pleasurable for you. Yeah, they don't have to earn money. They don't have to serve a particular purpose. They're just there just to nurture you and allow you to be more of you. The Di is saying time and energy and other people's expectations get in the way. Absolutely. Yeah, amazing. So this idea that, sometimes we feel we haven't got time to give to ourselves, but then really the truth is, we all have 24 hours in the day, and it's really where we choose to spend the time, or where we think we ought to spend the time, isn't it? Because it's easier to give the time to other people because it's easier to justify that. Whereas the minute we start giving time to ourselves, even if that means having to say no to other things or other people, that is selfish. Then we feel guilty and ashamed. But actually, if you think about it, if you don't do that kind of stuff, you can't build your resilience, and your resilience, your ability to kind of weather the storm and really sit in the center of your own life is so, so crucial, so important for your health, for your happiness, and for you to be able to live a meaningful life on this planet. So again, energy, fatigue, that can get in the way of self-compassion practices and other people's expectations. Exactly. We so often, don't we? We have this sort of external radar, and we're forever checking in, like, how do people need me to be? What are they expecting from me? What do they want me to say? What do they want me to do? How do they want me to look after them? How do they want me to be in this job? All these kind of roles that we take on. And there's nothing wrong with any of those, by the way. But if it's at the expense of being able to kind of practice that self-compassion, being able to give to ourselves, it's all about everybody else, it's all about the external and none about the internal, then we start to lose the balance. Then the foundations start to wobble. So Karen is saying, for me, I think it's feeling of not deserving it, still trying to get to the bottom of the why. So Karen is just saying, we did a little coaching session earlier on in the Sasha Sugar group, and we were talking about why. Yeah, but we don't need to understand the why we love things. We just do because we do, because we are naturally loving hearts, really. Victoria saying, I'm learning to make time for myself. Absolutely, yeah. And there's so much that can get in the way of that, isn't there? There's like all that, the guilt, the shame, I should be, that mindset of I should be doing it like this. But actually, who says? Who makes up that stuff? We kind of think we learn it, don't we? But from being little. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. So Carol saying, I had to say to my granddaughter I couldn't have the grandchildren so much. Yeah, and that's a biggie, isn't it? And I hear this a lot from from people who have grandchildren, that yes, it's lovely, but if it's at the if I used to have, particularly in general practice, quite a lot of my patients who they'd be so exhausted from their day of looking after their grandchildren that actually it would take them like 2 or 3 days to recover, and you begin to ask yourself, okay, where's the balance in that? So we do want to support our children and support our grandchildren and have meaningful relationships with them, but does it have to be at the expense of us tipping over? So yeah, really get you there, Carol. And that was really hard. Yeah. So Darren's just joined. Hi, Darren. So but it's that it's important to have a practice of compassion for yourself, to be able to listen to your own needs, to be able to act on those and activate those. So and as I say, when the researchers looked at things like what allows people to survive certain situations, which people have resilience, it's the people who have self-compassion, the people who have learned, either through the knocks of life or they just somehow or other learnt it when they were younger, that actually I am important, I am worth investing in, I am worth paying time and attention to, I am worth giving to. I can give to myself, give pleasure to myself, give time out to myself, and it is okay for me to say I can't do something, or I can't commit to something, or I can only do it this much and not that much. It is fine. Okay, so the second thing, hi Kathy, lovely to see you. The second thing is the idea of people who have great resilience are people who have a very strong sense of a vision for what their life is for. So you could call it your sense of life purpose, if you like. And I know that this is a question that, that can comes up for all of us at some point, like, what's my life for, when it all feels so hard and so pointless, and we just want to give up. And what allows you to keep going, and for the people who have great resilience, that ability just to keep going, and despite things being really tough and hard and feeling very adverse, is having that bigger vision that kind of pulls you through into beyond the stickiness and the difficulties. So having that vision for your life, for what your life is for, like having a bigger picture. And so one of the things is that if we can kind of just kind of think of ourselves as sort of this sort of the idea that you can live from a place of passion and vision, and have a big vision for what you're trying to achieve in your life, something that is really quite big, and you might so big that you think, well, I might not even achieve it in my lifetime, but so what, create a really big, ambitious kind of go for it, because that's your passion, that's your drive, that's your kind of, that will pull you through when the going gets tough. So when the small stuff, the sticky stuff happens, it's not all about that. So as I shared with you all, when I lost my daughter in the way that I did, it was just, beyond, I literally thought for the first few weeks and months, I thought, I cannot actually survive this. This is just like, but actually what it taught me is that my life had been very like this. I'd been very committed. I'd been the best mum I possibly could be, but my life was like this. But it wasn't about the bigger vision. And I had to then start, through that experience, I had to start connecting to the idea that, right, Margaret, the thing you need to do here is build a bigger vision, because if you don't, every time there's something else happens, you're just going to get, pushed down by it and pushed under the water. So building that bigger vision is a really, really big part. Carol's saying, I want to volunteer. Yeah, so this is amazing. Like this idea that you want to kind of, start living into the things that make you feel passionate, that are in line with who you really are, with your truth, with your authenticity, so you can really start playing a bigger game. Actually, I remember years ago I was working with a coach, and he said to me, look, Margaret, you're just playing a really small game. And I said, what on earth are you talking about? Like, I'm working my ass off here. Like, I couldn't work any harder. I couldn't try any harder. I couldn't commit anymore. Like, this is it. I'm maxed out. And he was going, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about your effort or your energy or your input. I'm talking about your vision for what all of this is about. What is it you're trying to create, achieve in your life? What is it that you're trying to build? What do you stand for in your life? And I kind of went, oh, okay. Yeah, it's a different thing. So Lindsay's just joined. Hi, Lindsay. Gorgeous you can make it, darling. So this idea of, building resilience is about developing a life vision, a purpose, a thing that drives you kind of from the heart, from your center, because you absolutely are passionate about it. You believe in it. You're fully aligned with it. And it has nothing to do with the kind, you can think of that as sort of vertical axis, if you like, your passion is your vertical rising, and the stuff that happens, like your job and your family and your kids and your friends and all the stuff that people need, is kind of like the horizontal weave, if you like. And so what we want to do is to live into our vision, but through the relationships, through our job, through our everydayness. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah. And it's an interesting thing to think about. So that's the second thing. The third thing that gives us resilience is the ability to think outside the box, the ability to kind of think in a really creative way. And so this is as opposed, so just to kind of paint that a picture a little bit more, if our way of thinking is very kind of rigid and very kind of fixated on, it has to look like this because this is the right way, Again, I'm sorry I keep drawing on my own example, but it's just to give you an example. I was very fixated on, like, look, being a good mum looks like this, and I did all the things that I thought would, and on paper it probably looked fantastic, okay, but in the end it left me very, very exposed. And so the whole thing is really about that ability to kind of, you know, the mindset that have us thinking in a black and white way, like it should be like this and not like this. This is right, that is wrong. This is good, this is bad. You know, this very sort of what's it called? Not bipolar. That's not the right word. Somebody tell me the right word for this. Kind of this very sort of, you know, this way of thinking like this. You know, right, wrong, black, white, good, bad, should, shouldn't, you know, all these kinds of things. They're quite fixed ways of thinking. They're quite rigid ways of thinking. And that actually when you know, when life starts to kind of challenge us, if we're able to think a bit more openly and a bit more kind of creatively and move away from it should be like this and not like this. You know, my child should do that, shouldn't do that. My job should be like this, not like this. My boss ought to blah, blah, blah. You know, all these kind of ideas that we hold around this is how it should be, ought to be, this is right, this is wrong, are quite narrow-minded. Not narrow-minded, that's not the right word, that sounds horrible. They're quite, it's thinking on a scale that doesn't allow that kind of growth. It doesn't allow expansiveness or creative thinking or thinking outside the box or being open to more possibilities. So can you sort of see the contrast between the two? So this, when I say, you know, one of the qualities that people have who have great resilience is thinking outside the box. They tend to not think, they tend to have let go of mindsets that are about right or wrong or should or shouldn't, and instead they're thinking about mindsets about what's possible here, what else could it be here, what's, you know, how it's more creative thinking, problem solving, thinking outside the box. Does that sort of make sense? Hi Carolyn, hi Sarah, lovely you could join us. And Steph has just joined us. Hi Steph, lovely to see you. And yeah, and Carol's saying, yeah, and being judgmental. So being judgmental is about going, look, this is right and that is wrong. This is how it should be and this is how it shouldn't be. This is what it looks like to be a good mum, and that this is good and that is bad. You know, all these kinds of things. So this is what it looks like to be a good worker. This is, or a good friend, or a good wife, or a good mother. You know, when Carol sort of, you know, was talking about having to say to her daughter, like, look, I can't help with the grandchildren as much as before. I'm feeling really guilty. But actually, you know, thinking more creatively and thinking, look, you know, actually the bigger picture is that actually if I just pull back for a little while, I can kind of regroup, and then I'll be able to offer so much more, and I'll be able to live a more full life, and then we'll kind of take it up from there. You know, it's not for forever. So becoming a really sophisticated, creative, open-minded thinker, you know, letting go of those, catching ourselves at the moments when our mindsets end up kind of channeling us down into kind of that more rigid way of thinking. That so when we you know, when the curveballs come, and if we can kind of move out of that sort of and more into, then actually we can ride the storms better. You know, it would stop us from sort of shrinking back or withdrawing or withholding or struggling or even, you know, getting sick, getting ill and getting stuck. So really, really important. The fourth thing, so the three things for those of you who've just joined, that we were just talking about what are the qualities that give people, you know, when people look at what makes someone resilient. First of all, it's compassion for self. Secondly, is holding a life vision or a bigger picture in your mind about what your life is for. Third one is being able to think kind of open-mindedly rather than more kind of closed down into right and wrong. And fourthly is your ability to be connected to others, your ability to be able to both be, you know, give out connection, but also to receive it. Yeah, lots of us are really good at giving, but we're not all that great at receiving the support, the connection, the being allowed to receive, the being allowed to be supported, as well as being the person who gives the support. So this idea of support, connection, community, being in it together, and that energy going both ways, yeah, not just one direction where you do all the giving, but you're also allowed to receive it. So that kind of ties a little bit with the self-compassion, compassion for self. But, you know, this is the idea of being in it alone versus being in it together. It's the idea that, you know, if we're always toughing it out and doing things by ourselves and gritting our teeth and pushing our way through, there is a glass ceiling to that. There is only so hard that you can work, so many hours in the day, so much energy you have to give, so much, that there's a glass ceiling to that. And yet the minute you open that up and you go, okay, yeah, I'd like some help. Yes, I'd like some support. Yes, I'd like some community, please. It becomes a team, and actually the glass ceiling lifts, and we're all capable of so much more because we start to get the synergy of everything that we do together. When we work on the in the Social Sugar program, one thing that often comes that people bring to the table is that the idea that I've tried loads of times to kind of eat more healthily or lose weight or whatever the health projects have been, but when you do these things by yourself, it is always much harder than if you do them as part of a group, traveling the road together. So powerful. So that's that ability to give support and also receive support, allow yourself to give connection but also receive connection and be in community, so key for building that resilience and not traveling the road alone. So who here is good at toughing it out and doing it all by yourself? Has anybody got that as a strong suit? Me? I used to be very good at that. I used to ace it. Okay. So does anybody here have that as a strong suit, that they're really good at doing things by themselves, not asking for help, thinking, oh, I can do it. I don't need any help. I don't need any support. I can do it all by myself. I'm strong. Anybody here recognizing that one? Victoria saying yes. Karen, aye. Yeah, and that's not to say that there's nothing wrong with being a strong person. There's nothing wrong with making sure that you carry your hold up your end of things in life, carry so that someone else doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting for you. But equally well, if we only do it ourselves and don't ask and don't so Jackie's saying yep, Carol, me, yeah, me too. I think, and the truth is that it's a characteristic that we pride, it's prized in our society, isn't it? We the idea of being a strong person, being independent, we actively kind of reward that. We think it's admirable to be independent, and sure, up to a point it is. It's good to to have self-reliance, to be able to think, yeah, I can do this. To be a sort of, yeah, I can do this kind of person is a great thing. But not if it's to the exclusion of not being able to ask for help, not being able to ask for support, not being able to say, look, I can't do this, but I could do that. To be able to say, look, ask to have your needs met. This is the kind of thing. So the fifth thing is the ability to just be with strong emotions. Okay, so the ability to sit with intense fear, intense anger, intense disappointment, intense sadness, intense excitement. The ability to simply just to sit and be with big emotions, strong emotions, is a real feature of people who have resilience. In other words, when people who have good resilience are faced with strong emotions, someone who say they're faced with someone who's very sad or very angry, they don't get drawn into that emotion. They can just stay in their own center, and they don't feel the need to fix it. They let other people own their stuff, and they own, the resilient people own their emotions, and they allow other people to own theirs. They don't kind of overextend themselves and go, oh, I'll help you with that, I'll sort that out for you, I'll make you feel better. It's not that they lack compassion, far from it, but they honor what is theirs and they honor what is other people's, and they don't go and fix it. They don't go and try and kind of get into the drama of poor me or why me, or they just don't. They kind of they have the ability to tell themselves, okay, I'm feeling really sad right now. I'm just going to sit with this. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to make it go away. I don't need to drink myself into oblivion to make it go away. I don't need to go and, create chaos somewhere to kind of give myself a distraction. I don't need to stay busy. It's just a strong emotion, and I will be okay. Just to be able to sit in that place with strong emotions, and to know that it will pass. We all get thrust into the eye of the storm at times in our lives. It happens to everybody. It's the nature of life. But it's then what you do with it. Do you get very reactive, or do you try and fix it, or do you try and make it go away, or do you kind of try and drown it out with drugs, alcohol, getting busy, whatever that looks like for you, the distracting your way out of it, but the ability just to sit with it and just to go, okay, this is real strong stuff right now, but I know it will pass, and just to breathe, just to sit and face it and know that it will pass and just stay calm in it. Really, really big thing about resilience. So, and Christine Bromley's just joined. Hi, Christine. Yeah, Carol saying the multitasking, and Carol saying I was the rock. Yeah, you were the strong one. You were kind of the one that everybody else relied on and everybody else turned to, and you were the fixer. You made it all right for everybody else. I get that. Totally get that. Jackie's saying I'm quite hypocritical because I encourage others to ask for help and accept it. Yeah, but it's, that's the loving nature in you, Jackie. But it's a different practice to allow yourself to ask for help, to allow yourself to not be so strong and say, look, I can't do that, or I could do a bit of it but not the whole thing. Or like Carol shared earlier, I can spend time with the grandchildren, but I can't look after them for a whole day. It's too much. Emma Gammons has just joined. Hi, Emma. So Victoria saying a hot bath and a good cry and a strong brew and breathing helps. Yeah, absolutely. So it's that our ability to self-soothe and our ability to just hold ourselves in that place, and that's emotions either way, whether it's like huge joy and craziness and elation, or whether it's it's sort of extreme sadness and loss and fear and regret and all that kind of stuff. It's about being able to sit in that stuff and just sit in it. You don't have to do anything about it. And Carol saying you are not your thoughts. Absolutely. So 5 kind of, there are lots more characteristics of resilient people, but I just thought I'd pick out those 5 because I think they are the ones that I know from my own life show up very commonly, and they are ones that when I've been working with clients and so on that I see over and over again. So just to summarize those back, so the 5 are, so compassion for self, being able to give to self, acknowledge self, self-love, self-worth. The second one is living life with vision, with a bigger picture in mind, and not getting sort of bogged down into the details and the small stuff. Thinking outside the box, moving away from mindsets that have you in a very fixed way of operating versus a mindset that's more expansive, more creative, more problem solving. Fourth one is the ability to be connected to others, both allowing yourself to receive the connection, the support, the community, as well as give it. Okay, so, and then the 5th one is the ability to just sit with strong emotions and not get pulled into the drama of it, not feel the need to fix it, not feel the need to kind of, hide from it, either by drinking yourself into oblivion or taking drugs or getting really busy and then just not dealing with things that way. So all of this, from personal experience, I can honestly say it is easier said than done. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have all this nailed. I don't, but I'm certainly, I think of building resilience as kind of like a lifetime's journey, really. And that's fine, So let's have a good chat about what you can do to start building your own resilience some more. So based on what we've said so far, is there anything that's come up for anybody on the call live that you're thinking, I could do such and such, I do that thing, maybe I could do this and that would help me just kind of weather the storms a bit better? Is there anything that's come up that's kind of been a bit of an aha or a bit of a recognition moment that, you can kind of think, oh yes, I do that thing? Is there anything there? Elizabeth has just joined us. Hi, Elizabeth. Great you could make the live, honey. Okay, so what can we do to start helping ourselves build a bit more resilience in our life? So the first one, so these are probably not going to come as a surprise given everything that we have just talked about, but the first one is to really actively cultivate a sense of self-worth. Okay, now I did do a quite a long post on the Facebook page the other day. I think it was on Tuesday it was. So if this, the idea of cultivating a sense of self-worth is something that you really struggle with, I would strongly recommend that you just pop back over there and just scroll back a couple of days and just go and check that out, because it went into quite a lot of detail. But in essence, the way I look at self-worth is that it is about it's the relationship that you have with yourself. And the relationship we have with ourselves is really very similar to the relationships that we have with other people. And so, if you were thinking, okay, how could I improve my relationship with, a particular person? What are the ingredients that go into that? Well, you take an interest in them, you maybe spend time with them, you listen to them, you don't judge them, you are kind of kind to them. And really, building that relationship with yourself is exactly the same. Okay. So, you spend time with yourself, by yourself, you listen to yourself or listen to your heart, not judge it, not get into, you shouldn't feel like that, or I shouldn't feel like that, or I'm a bad person for feeling like that. Just not to judge it, just to go, okay, that's just how I'm feeling. This is what you would do for a friend, isn't it? So this is about doing this for yourself. It's about cultivating that sense of self-worth, about listening to what your heart is saying. Look, I'm just really tired. I'm really exhausted. I feel so kind of, all these things. Just okay, yeah, and building that relationship, making time to be with that stuff. And what would you say to a friend? What do you think might make you feel better? What do you think would help you right now? You could ask yourself the same questions, when times get tough. So it's that kind of, building that kind of stuff for yourself, really. So cultivating your sense of self-worth, because once we start to have a stronger sense of self-worth, we're less squashed, we're less moved from our center, buffeted around. We can stay in our center more, stay true to ourselves more, and also not overextend ourselves into other people's needs, wants, and so on. We can hold enough of it for ourselves that we have that resilience. The second thing is learn to fill your own cup. Okay, so first of all, that means knowing what actually lights you up. What actually would, when I say talk about filling your cup, it's about filling your heart, giving yourself that sense of, I can give to myself and it feels good. I feel nurtured and nourished by that, and it makes me feel good, and it lifts me up, and it makes me feel full and whole. So often I find that we look for other people or other situations to give us that sense of fullness. But actually, if we can learn to give it to ourselves, it is incredibly powerful. And, in terms of building resilience, really, really important. So fill your own cup, and knowing how to do that and being able to recognize this, that actually I'm giving to myself and this is good. Like, this is a good thing. This is not me being selfish or me being, self-centered or depriving other people of my time and attention. Actually, it's just as important that I give to myself as it is that I give to my children, to my partner, to my job, to my friends, to my family. You are just as important as them. And again, we've already said a few times on this call today that for a lot of us, that's really challenging. For a lot of us, that's hard to kind of do that. So the third one is to connect to your passion in life. So Carol, you've got this nailed, haven't you? Just going box sets and dancing and singing away. Yeah, and Jackie's saying building self-worth is a huge part of it. It's a big part of it, says Jackie. Yeah, absolutely. So, that's the first step, I would say. So, if anyone is on this call and, you're kind of feeling like, oh my God, that's me. Like that's probably my first thing that, and particularly, if we're here because, perhaps our health has taken a knockback because, we've got sick or life's not gone our way, or we've got depressed, or we've got tired, all this stuff, and it happens to all of us, as I shared with you at the beginning of the call, it happened to me big time, absolutely tipped me over. But we can recover, we can pull out of it, and building resilience is very much part of that journey. So cultivating your sense of self-worth, I would say, is kind of like, the first step. And it can take time, because for a lot of us, it's just completely alien, like, how do I give to myself? How do I nurture myself? It just feels really weird. I don't even know where to start. So I would say go and have a look at that article that I wrote a few days ago, and you will get lots of ideas from that. Second is fill your own cup. Third is connect to your passion in life. So the things that actually light you up, make you feel like more of you, that you really enjoy just because you do, not because they're useful or practical or productive. That stuff's fine, but something that really, really gives you pleasure. And for me, it was painting for a long time. I love painting, love painting landscapes. I love going to art galleries. And yeah, so that passion in your life, find the passion and give yourself time to kind of, so that there is space for that stuff as well. Carol's like, I want a dog. Oh yeah, get a dog. Dogs are great. So Mandy's just joined. Hi Mandy and Jill. Hello Jill, lovely to see you. And so that's the third thing, connecting your passion in life. And the fourth thing is kind of in line with all of that lot. So connecting to your sense of self-worth, fill your own cup, connect to your passion in life. And then from there, start to cultivate, in line with that, cultivate your relationships. So, you want to be cultivating relationships with people who are passionate about the same things that you're passionate about, who are interested in the same things that you're interested in, so they can help you fill your cup, you can fill your cup together with them, and you're all just kind of, cooking up a party. This is the way to kind of really build that resilience, so, someone said earlier on about how, building, kind of developing new hobbies and stuff. Absolutely, this is what this is about, really, really important. So as your recipe for building resilience, or certainly starting to build your resilience, that's what there is. So cultivate your self-worth, fill your own cup, really connect to your passions in life, and then through those ones, start to cultivate your relationships in line with those. Now, for most of us, when we go through a big upheaval in life, it's often a time when your relationships change and shift about a lot. I know that because sometimes the challenges force us to really face deep things about ourselves, and as we emerge from doing that work, we actually kind of new parts of ourselves come alive. And that's the sort of the recovery phase of when you come out of things like having been really unwell, or coming out of a bereavement journey, or coming out of a huge transition in your life. So like if you've got divorced, or if you've lost your job and you're having to reinvent who you are as a professional, as a working and professional person, all of that stuff, these are big shifts, and we come out of those challenges with different parts of us kind of more prominent. And it's like being a different shaped Lego brick, if you like. And that means you're now more compatible with certain Lego bricks than other Lego bricks. And so your relationships often change, and I think it is okay to allow that to happen. I know the idea of friends for life is wonderful, and and I think people who have had friendships that have lasted their whole life are really, really lucky. But it is also okay to look for relationships and connections with people who really do sing your song. People who allow you to sing your song, and who will help you to sing your song in life. So Carol's saying, I want a job where people empower me, not drag me down. Absolutely. But you have to be the change you want to see in the world, darling, don't you? So you have to start empowering yourself And then that way you'll be able to start showing up with other people and in your relationships by insisting, actually, I'm going to stay in this empowered place. I'm going to stay very centered, very grounded. I'm not going to overextend myself. Nor am I going to hide. I'm here, I'm true. And at that point, you will then start attracting the kinds of relationships and with that, the kind of jobs that will actually allow you to show up like that. And this is how it works. You have to start from the ground up. So, okay, yeah. Carol saying out of work after 22 years. Got it, Carol. And I'm totally with you on that one. So I think we are just about coming to the end of this session. Is there anything that anybody would like to ask or to say, or that you're not sure of, or you would like me to explain again, or that as a result of having listened to this, you now feel, I don't know, that you might want a bit more support with? Is there anything at all? Okay. So I want to really thank you all for making time to come on the live call tonight. I'm really grateful to you all for being here. Do feel free to invite other people to come and join the clinic group so that they also can watch the replay if you feel that would be appropriate. You do have the ability to invite your friends into the group and for you to join them. You don't have to necessarily wait for me to join your friends. You can do that yourself, but I will leave it at your discretion as to who you invite into the group so that we stay high vibe and so that we all share this passion for holistic, healthy, natural living and great well-being. So the other thing that I mentioned right at the start, but I'll just mention it briefly again because quite a few people have joined throughout the call. In just over 2 weeks, on the 25th of February, we are going to be running a free 5-day super hydration challenge. I ran this challenge last year and it was really, really good fun. It was very practical, very hands-on, and we're going to be running it again. So I'm just going to drop a link into the chat box here. That's it, just there, where you can sign up. It's just an email sign up, and so that you can be the first one in there, and I'll get all lined up ready for the 25th of February when we'll be starting. So you'll be getting an email nearer the time once we're ready to start the actual challenge. It's going to be great fun, and it's one of those great baselines of awesome energy and vitality. Is getting really good hydration going. So we'll be doing all the ins and outs of what it is, what it isn't, what to drink, how much, how often, blah, 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 all of that. Really, really, really practical. So very different to this kind of session, which is much more kind of deep and meaningful, wasn't it? So so we'll be doing a super hydration live challenge, 5-day live challenge, starting the 25th of February, and you are all extremely welcome to join that. Please do also feel that you can invite friends to join that, family to join that. If you've got a group of people around you that you think, oh, we could do it together, get them to sign up so that they can all so that nearer the time I'll be emailing out to the hydration challenge sheets so that you've got those ready to go. And then on the 25th of February, we start together and really kind of nail that whole super hydration piece. And it's really good fun. And actually, in terms of energy and vitality, it's a real game changer for a lot of people. So really, really good one to get stuck in with. So good. So that is everything for this evening. Thank you all so much for joining me live. I really appreciate it. Please keep sharing the fact that the group is here with your friends, with your family. Invite them to come in and join in, and the more the merrier. And so I hope you all have a great evening. If anybody has, as a result of the things we've talked about this evening, if anybody has come, if anything's come up for anybody and you didn't feel that you wanted to kind of put it into the group, you can always just drop me a message if you need to. I'm here. Okay, so Virginia's saying thanks for this, lovely ideas. You're so welcome, Virginia. And Di, great, good to see you in here. So lovely. So I wish you all a very good evening and a great weekend. Bye.